Hello everybody and welcome to the NEC Capability Update. My name is Neille. I'm the Managing Director of NEC New Zealand, and today I'll be presenting along with Stephen Graham, the GM for Innovation, who also looks after our biometric side of our business. We're really pleased to be at NZDIA Ideas 2020, and we just want to say a big thanks to Jenny and the team for making this possible for us. Who would have thought, that post-COVID, or in the midst of COVID, we'd be recording sessions and having them available to be screened during, the NZDIA conference without us having to be there. Things have changed so rapidly in a post-COVID world, and yet here we are still able to collaborate with one another, which is fantastic and just shows the resilience and innovation that we have, in the IT sector. I also want to say a big thanks to Carleen and her team for making it possible for us to be able to pull together the presentations which we're sharing with you today. I thought I'd start out with a little bit about NEC Corporation. NEC Corporation was founded in 1899, so we're actually 121 years old. We've got approximately 110,000 employees worldwide, and we have annual sales that top 25 billion euros a year. We operate in over 300 consolidated subsidiaries, and we're headquartered out of Tokyo in Japan. If you haven't been there before, I really think you should jump on a plane and get there when COVID is over. It's just one of the nicest places to visit and the most wonderful people to engage with. So obviously, as I mentioned, with our 121-year history, we obviously have over 120 years of brand success. And, we're one of the top 100 most innovative organizations globally. And we're also one of the Fortune 500 global companies. Our president and CEO is Takashi Nino. He took over in about April of 2016 after a long career within the NEC business across a number of different roles. I just want to talk a little bit about the Sustainable Development Goals. The SDGs aim to create a better and fairer world by 2030. The goals for sustainable development are really interconnected, and it's there so that there is no one that is left behind. So there's equality. And NEC has created, this vision around having 7 social value creation themes that will link into these SDGs. And it's really through co-creation of these customers and partner relationships that will drive the value creation themes around safety, security, efficiency, and equality. And a lot of what you see today will be aimed at safety and security in relation to what Steve and I will be talking to you about. Interestingly, NEC has a history of providing many products and solutions over those 121 years, from cameras, fridges, supercomputers, laptops and computerware. The list is endless: telephones, projectors, screens. And then we've started to mature into solutions like the iPasso Link solutions, which we're providing to New Zealand Police today. And then really getting into biometrics. So this cuts across fingerprint, palm, voice, face, iris, and ear acoustics. And, in NIST, which is the National Institute for Securities and Technologies, NEC is a front leader in the delivery of those biometric services. So we've come a long way from being this really product-centric organization to an organization that's aiming to provide really good solutions to enable our customers to achieve success in what it is that they need to do. And so you probably question yourself, so what is it that we do within NEC New Zealand? Because there's a lot of product and service out there from NEC, but what do we do here? And I think it's important that we have our own vision. So that's around enabling secure identity and communication in a fast-moving world where every experience is connected. And we underpin that by our local mission, which is to be world famous in New Zealand. We really want to put New Zealand as a country affiliate on the map with the global business, leading the way with our biometric solutions, security, communication, and smart transportation solutions, and attracting the brightest performers whilst we do that. So what do we do? So NEC supports telco infrastructure and Sparks exchanges across New Zealand. We've been doing that for over 30 years with Spark. And we're very, very proud of that history of that telephone exchange capability that we've provided. If you think about it, we supported Kiwis through the pandemic, providing those critical services to them, and our field services staff were considered part of essential providers and essential services for Kiwis. And they worked through that pandemic, putting themselves and their families at risk to provide those services to you. And that, includes 111. And we're extremely grateful and proud at the work that they did through that time to ensure that those services were available to Kiwis across the country. Those guys also provide field services capability, like fibre installations, across the country. So they operate from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the South. So widely distributed field services capability at NEC New Zealand. We've also been providing fingerprinting services to New Zealand Police. This has been going for 29 and a half years. So in a few months, we'll actually be celebrating 30 years of service with New Zealand Police, which is very cool and something that we will celebrate and celebrate well. And, in the bottom right-hand corner there of that presentation, you can see the New Zealand Police team being trained on how to use one of the live scan units, which are distributed throughout the country at the New Zealand Police stations and also on booze buses where, offenders' details are captured at the time of processing. Again, these are just some of the services we provide to NZ Police. We also do microwave point-to-point fibre services. But this really is the root of what we provided to New Zealand Police for, like I say, close to 30 years, and something we're very proud of. We've also just recently delivered a solution to the Department of Internal Affairs in partnership with DXC. And that contract covers the supply of facial recognition under an as-a-service contract, which we call FRAS. And that capability is actually open for all government departments to consume as a service, under the construct and service that we've built in partnership with DXC and DIA. Again, a real new model, a new way of operating for us, and really trying to understand what our customers are wanting in that as-a-service model, simple, OPEX-driven, and what we think will really help to drive the adoption of biometric capability within the government sector. Boston Consulting Group has rated NEC as a top 50 innovator. Like I mentioned earlier, we've considered the top 100 globally, yet Boston Consulting Group has rated NEC as a top 50 innovator. And that, kind of leads me to the next slide, which, as that top 50 creator of patents in the world, we're accountable for almost 90,000 patents across the world. What do we have to do to bring that from the global vault into NEC New Zealand and really bring that capability to New Zealand? And that really leads to the role that Steve performs around the head of innovation, really driving the adoption of that innovative capability that we have globally into New Zealand and bringing the best of breed here for us to be able to utilize. And the final slide that I'll talk to is just around Together We Create. And I think it's really important to know that I don't want us to be all things to all people. I want NEC New Zealand to really do the things that they do well, and then to partner with, the likes of Junction or DXC or a number of other partners we have in our partnership ecosystem to deliver services to our customers in partnership together and just all working as one. I'm a firm believer that if we bring all that capability together and put that all together in the pot, that will create a much better outcome for our customers to be able to, consume services in the right way and working together in partnership. So team, thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Steve about now. I'm going to hopefully give control of the screen to him and he can take it over and just give you a bit of an update on some of the things that he's been working in and some of the innovation that we've been undertaking within NEC, particularly through, the COVID issues that have been hitting us from across the globe.
Thank you, Neil. Well, maybe you can tell Neil and I are not in the same office. Envious Neil understands that I'm in sunny Wellington. So let's see how this goes remotely. All right.
Imagine a world without credit cards, driver licenses, or even passports. A world where the only form of payment or ID is your face. Does it sound like the stuff of the distant future? Well, apparently it's not far off.
A new deal between the New Zealand government and an international tech giant could see facial recognition on our shores very shortly. So is that a good thing? Lucas de Jong has the story.
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How does assorted tank tops work out for you?
It's the stuff of the future, but facial recognition will soon be a part of Kiwi life. It's been revealed that the Department of Internal Affairs has signed an agreement with a major US tech giant. It will make facial recognition technology available to any New Zealand organisation, both public and private, for a fee. But how will facial recognition technology change our lives? And how reliable is it?
And Ian Howard's a tech commentator from Glyde Street Studio. Good to talk to you, Ian. Outside of Hollywood, how does facial recognition actually work?
Oh my goodness, that's an enormous question. I mean, essentially, it's an enormous database and algorithm that picks up on people's facial features and manages to recognise them as a result. And I think what we're going to find in the future is that it doesn't just recognise people, it basically powers their entire lives.
So tell us a bit more about that. What areas of our lives could this be used in?
Oh, look, honestly, I think it's pretty much limitless. I think we'll find that, where at the moment we pull our wallet out of our pocket to pay for things, you'll find that you'll be able to pay with a smile. I think, we'll lock our doors, we'll start our car engines, we'll probably board planes, we may well, open our laptops using our face. I think really, anything, fundamentally, your face is going to become your unique identifier. And so pretty much anything that you can do with a password or with, some sort of unique identifier, you'll be able to do with your face eventually.
Hey Ian, should we be concerned that we're handing over our identity to machines?
Well, there are definitely some potential pitfalls in it for sure. Some people are forecasting almost as the death of privacy. If you think about it, we live in a kind of camera state. This could be the way that the state, tracks our every movement by being able to recognise your face. It knows where you are at any given time. That's being uploaded into databases, and there are definitely some privacy concerns around it. My hope is that the convenience and the benefits, outweigh the negatives.
Can you trick the machines? Because they're not foolproof. I mean, when I have facial recognition on my phone, first thing in the morning it doesn't recognise me.
Yeah, I can't understand that for a second. Yeah, they are definitely trickable. Makeup, and I think living in a COVID world is so fascinating that suddenly our faces are covered far more frequently than they used to be, and definitely facial recognition is struggling with that. But if there's one thing that we've learned over history is that technology catches up, and I think it'll be able to see through makeup. It'll even be able to see through your morning face, Henry, I'm afraid.
Thank you so much for your time, Ian. That was really interesting.
So that kind of was a less dystopian view of facial recognition. It was, from a local broadcaster, and Ian, some of the things that he talked about, a lot of them we're already doing. However, it's not without its controversy. Here's a few headlines in the last month or so from New Zealand about government facial recognition. Tech deal offers wide access to other government departments, which Neille spoke about. But then there's other things about police setting up a $9 million facial recognition system, and government is nowhere ready or prepared. New Zealand law is not prepared for this. So kind of fascinating times in terms of what some of this, what some of the people look at. But I did enjoy that in some of the use cases. So if I take you to another level in terms of how we can apply some of this technology. Facial recognition is becoming mainstream. So you just saw in that broadcast. So a lot of you on this call will be familiar with accessing your iPhone through facial recognition, or computer access through facial recognition, or even at the airport. We all go through the airport when we could travel, e-gated airports. But I guess the point for me and the experience that I have in terms of looking after the biometrics team and also running innovation is there are so many more use cases that enable both greater customer experience and increased health and safety. For example, we've recently partnered with an organization, a startup in New Zealand called Junction that does credential management. So if you can imagine credential management verification, that allowing you to go where you have to have certain credentials or access or privacy rights, knowing that you can use credential management in the back end and letting facial recognition identify that I am who I am with the right credentials so that the door opens or the gate opens, etc. So there are some amazing things that we can do, and it's only growing around facial recognition. In addition to that, there's some biometric technology that is even more secure than facial recognition, and that's what we refer to as biometrics or iris scanning. So I've overshot this slide deck. Stick with me. It's going to come back here. It's a beautiful shot of an iris. I love that. So effectively, imagine, for example, defense and the premises around the country getting access using facial recognition to get on site. But then if you wanted another level of security, you could use iris scanning, right? So that's even deeper. The reason the adoption rates aren't probably higher is still the cameras, the infrared in the cameras is not quite as affordable as a phone, but that will change. And in addition, we can look at two-factor authentication that will increase security as well. So the next slide, the next bit I want to talk about is how to take this slide to the next slide. Okay, I got that.
As efforts to contain the COVID-19 crisis step up, it is essential that we all do everything we can to help stop the spread of the virus. NEC, working with partners worldwide, has developed NEC iQuarantine, a mobile app that will allow our amazing healthcare professionals and government agencies to help contain the spread of COVID-19 in real time. NEC iQuarantine allows the community to self-assess and check in with authorities on their health. If they are showing symptoms, it prioritises their situation so critical frontline professionals can act promptly. It also allows real-time management using push notifications to people who have come into contact with someone who has COVID-19. NEC iQuarantine also allows us to identify where there's growth of the virus in communities, utilising a mix of technologies such as NEC facial recognition, AI, real-time cloud and data management in a highly configurable and scalable way. Our health and protection services can access NEC iQuarantine to easily assess individual case information, including the status and priority of those in self-isolation. In collaboration with Salesforce and AWS, the app is now ready to help people here and around the world in ways never seen before, to ease the pressure on our frontline healthcare and emergency services and prioritise the safety of those most vulnerable in our society. NEC, orchestrating a brighter world remotely.
So NEC in New Zealand with local partners, Frond and Alfaro, developed a platform within just a matter of weeks, working with AWS, Salesforce.com, NEC, and MIST. So effectively the solution is I've moved on into innovation and utilizing biometric as well to help the government and society in general with the iQuarantine breakout. Effectively, the solution is it's a 24/7 monitoring of the quarantine. It's end-to-end, it's configurable, and we've taken this globally to a lot of subsidiaries around the world, and we continue to work with government locally, New Zealand police locally, etc. I won't spend too much time going through the technology, but I will leave you with the deck so you can understand that we do front-end notification, check-in, and then we have a quarantine management process, a workflow. We have it enables you to connect with a contact center, and then a lot more magic with the quarantine monitoring through a Fitbit-like band using Bluetooth, etc. I think it's probably worthwhile showing you a quick demo of the interface, which should take like maybe 60 seconds.
This app is designed to help check your health during your 14-day self-isolation period. In order for this app to work, you'll need to make sure you enable your location services and enable notification services. Once you've done that, you'll come to a screen that will explain what this app will do and what we'll need in order for you to register. We'll need to capture some basic information about you and some optional information about the countries you've been to over the last 30 days, whether you're over 60 years old, and whether you have the following conditions that could put you at risk of COVID-19. Once you've filled out the information, we'll then need to take a picture of your face so we know it's you. Once you've done that, we'll then need to capture your contact details so we can get in touch in case of an emergency. Once your registration is done, we'll then need you to declare your health. We'll ask you whether you're okay and whether you're self-isolating with anyone else. If you're not okay, we'll then ask whether you're experiencing the symptoms of COVID-19, such as shortness of breath, a fever, or coughing. If you're okay, select yes and submit, and that's your health declaration done. You'll then land on a home screen that will tell you how many days left of your self-isolation and how many check-ins you have left in the day. We'll also keep you up to date with a New Zealand alert level.
So this is an application. This is the front end of the application for the iQuarantine, where we're using the cloud, we're using facial recognition, we're using geolocation with the ability to also add geofencing. The phone, it works on the Android, on the iPhone, or a progressive web app. So quite modern in terms of the technology, but that's just a way of demonstrating, some of the things that we're doing with innovation and enabling or integrating facial recognition as just part of it. We did a pivot as well. We realized that there's an impact in terms of the New Zealand economy of $9 billion to the loss of international students. About a quarter of that is tourism. But this application has enabled us to work with universities, the government, airports, and health. And again, it's not so much what we've discovered around a technology thing, because NEC has the technology and the partnerships to do, a lot in the innovation space. It's more a willingness to participate. And fortunately, we have had good buy-in working with Air New Zealand and their willingness to integrate through an API to populate passenger details on the application. The University of Wellington, Victoria, has been really supportive in terms of understanding what we can do and how we can do it. And Wellington Airport, in terms of how do we bring students back through the airport more quickly. So we've kind of touched into the whole kind of landscape and ecosystem around getting people back into New Zealand, which has been, quite challenging and quite exciting at the same time. I mean, there are many use cases, and not when I talked about facial recognition use cases from a biometrics point of view, but also when we start to think about iQuarantine, I was having conversations with the New Zealand Defence Force. There's 15,000 employees that you want to know, not relying on an Excel spreadsheet or phone calls to my boss that rolls it up in a spreadsheet, but real time, having the chief be able to know that overall 99.9% of my employees are fine, and knowing that real time. So there's the simple ability to check in through a mobile device. Their employees are prompted by random periodic notifications to see how they're doing. And then it's a highly secure identity, New Zealand's or NEC's global leading facial recognition with the GPS location to identify where people are at. So, and as importantly as all that, the adaptable business rules that potentially could allow New Zealand Defence Force to utilize this for well-being, escalate when an employee does not complete a check-in or feel well, notification of health staff when they're showing symptoms of when they've notified us, or simply mental well-being to make sure everyone is okay. And effectively, our view at NEC is from an innovation and technology and well-being perspective, that organizations should have something like this in place, because unfortunately it's probably not our last virus that has a big impact. So that's a high-level overview of some of the technology that we're working with, some of the partners we're working with, and some of the opportunities we're innovating with. So now maybe I'll turn it back over to Neille to just around the south.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Steve. Everyone, we hope that you've enjoyed our update today. It's really just a quick snapshot of some of our capability. As Steve mentioned, we will make the slide deck available afterwards, and both mine and Steve's contact details are available. We're well engaged with a number of government organisations, New Zealand Police, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, as well as the DIA. And, we're looking really forward to being able to to work with other we would welcome the opportunity to connect and engage with you and potentially answer any questions that you may have in relation to these technologies and solutions. So on behalf of Steve and I, thank you for this opportunity, Jenny and team, and we look forward to meeting up with you in person in the coming future. Thank you.